Hi guys, Tracy here, back in my scrap room for another scrapbooking process video. Today I have a layout that uses a number of different leftover products from other layouts that I've done over the past month or so. And so I'm going to insert a couple of freeze frames at the beginning just so that I can mention where they're from, and if you need more information you can always look up the videos. So I'm starting with this piece of 12 by 12 watercolor paper. It's on Strathmore watercolor paper and it is from the Full of Wonder layout. It's the background. And basically I used my brayer with some gelatos, and I had some leftover gelato on my brayer and on my craft mat, and so I just brayered it randomly onto this piece of 12 by 12 watercolor paper to use in the future. And here it is, the future. That happened fast. It's only a couple of days. Then I have this photo that I took, or somebody took, of me and my daughter in the hot tub on our recent sort of vacation. I'll say more about that a little bit later. Then I have this acrylic piece from the Sweater Weather kit from Scrapbook and Cards Today. That's going to form part of my title. And finally, I have these jelly plate deli paper leaves, and I do have a video that shows how I made these leaves. And I also have, it's called Deli Paper Leaves, I believe. I'll leave the link. And also these leaves were part of my Let's Go layout that there is a process video for on my channel, so you can check that out. All the links are in the videos and cards as well as below in the information section. So now I just wanted to show you, I wasn't sure that I would be stopping the video, so I just wanted to show you that those leaves were made with the jelly plate and the deli paper. Now I also have my Sweater Weather kit here, and I also have a couple of bags, just craft bags that I bought. I think those came from Paper Issues. I'm not entirely sure. They might have come from Studio Calico. I can't remember. And then I have these amazing thickers that came in the Sweater Weather kit. They're called Follow, and I love, love, love them. And I wanted to spell out Baddeck, but oh no, I only have one D. And there are two D's in the word Baddeck, in the town Baddeck. So I'm thinking maybe I can combine an I and an O to make a D. And it looks like it's going to work. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm looking for a pencil because ideally I'd like to mark where I want to cut, but I couldn't find a pencil because my craft room is a complete disaster. It's like awful. And so I have to clean after I'm finished narrating this. Then I took my Dylusions white paint pen and I just covered up the extra gold that was on the part of the eye that makes it obvious that it was an I and an O put together. So that just kind of to blend it in. Now that paint pen is not entirely opaque, so I will come back a little bit later after it dries and add another coat just to cover it up all the way. So I'm starting with my title, which is very unusual. I usually start with my layers of paper. But in this case, I'm starting with my title just because I had that beautiful autumn piece and I thought this one would be called Autumn in Baddeck. What I'm doing right now is I'm just taking apart the Thickers package and making my own Thickers packaging using 12 by 12 bags that I buy on eBay. And I have a video about that too. So I will link that in the information section below. I just used my Creative Memories trimmer to trim down my photo to a square. And I'm just writing down here, I use the instant filter in the Photos app, which is just the software program on my Mac. And so I'm playing around with placement here. I don't want this layout to look just like the last one because I already did that where I did two layouts that look the same right after one another. So I'm trying to not do that. So my first impression was to put the title in the lower right hand corner of this page, but that's what I did last time, so I'm not doing that again. So at this point I'm thinking I'll put it over to the left hand side of my photo, and I'm just looking through the pattern paper and trying to find something bold to mat my photo with. And this cardstock from Basil is really, really beautiful, and I love it for a mat. It's called Sugar Wafer Plaid, and it's just such a nice, beautiful color. This is Fall is in the Air from Echo Park. That's what this leaf paper is. But what I love about that mat is that it is a really warm, soft color of, it's a brownish gray, I guess maybe grayish, and it adds the darkness that a black mat would add, but it's much, much softer, which is going to work much better with this layout that is going to have some oranges and yellows and fall colors. So even though the background, the gelatos on the background paper are more towards like the oranges and yellows, I think that I'm going to pick up on some of the warmer tones in that. So this is a piece of paper from Pink Paisley from the Outfitters collection. It also came in the kit. I think all of the pattern paper that I use on this came in the kit except for the background piece of watercolor paper from my stash. So I'm just pulling up the edges on that just for a little bit of extra interest. And I want to incorporate this paper bag, but I want it to have a little bit more interest. So I'm using my punch, and this is my very favorite punch. I've used it. I've had it for a long, long time, and it is getting dull. And so also, I think it's just tricky to punch through this kind of really thin paper that paper bags are made out of. But I'm going to run upstairs and grab some tinfoil so that I can sharpen this punch. And so here I am with my tinfoil, and I'm just folding it in half and punching it. And then I just keep folding it and punching it and folding it and punching it. I want to punch through 2 layers because 1 layer is just not stiff enough and 3 layers is a little bit too stiff. And what this does is it sharpens the edges of your punch. Now, I probably would not have done this if I was just having trouble with this one paper bag because, like I said, it's common for punches to struggle with strange textured paper and different thicknesses of paper. But I happen to remember that this punch has not been punching very, very well, even in regular paper. So that's why I'm doing this. So even after I sharpen it, it still may not punch wonderfully just because this is not the ideal material for punching through. The other thing that you can do if your punch starts to stick when you use it, like stick closed, is you can punch it through a couple of layers of waxed paper, not deli paper, but the actual waxed paper that has wax on it, and that will help loosen it up and keep it from sticking. So those are 2 tips for using punches, although I didn't do the wax paper trick right now. Just in case you didn't know about those, I know those ideas have been around for a really long time. So there, I like how that little border punch just adds a little bit of texture to my paper bag edging, and I just cut it so that you could barely see it. And then I'm taking these deli leaves. I had made 2 different batches of them. One were really full of paint, and then another batch only had a minimal amount of paint on it. So this is the second batch with much less paint on it. So that means that it's more transparent in places. I'm using my Pigma Micron pen in 0.01. And I'm just outlining it. I'm using the 01 because I just want it to be a very, very delicate outline on this. I don't want them to be too bold. And I find that using a very fine pen will help with that. And so aren't these leaves just beautiful? I love these leaves. I'm so in love with them. So I am just, as you see, I'm outlining them, and then I'm adding some little veins in them just to make them look a little bit more lifelike. And as I mentioned in the last layout where I use these, it makes them look a little bit less blob-like because sometimes, especially where it kind of blends in with the background, it's hard to see what exact shape these are when they're kind of twisting and turning, and they're partially see-through, and so that just helps to accentuate the shapes of them. So what I've decided to do, I needed a couple of more, and I wanted a few more leaves that were in the different sizes. So I cut these out on my silhouette from just pieces of deli paper that I printed up with my jelly plate. And I cut them in 3 different sizes, or maybe two different sizes. And so I just wanted to have a variety of different sizes going on. And I want these leaves to look like they're kind of cascading down the right side of my page, vertically, so that it looks like they're falling onto my page. And I'm going to accumulate a couple of them at the bottom so that they're spread further apart at the top, and they're a little bit closer together at the bottom. And that just gives the illusion that they're dropping from the sky. If you place them too evenly, seems to me anyways to give a bit less of that illusion of them falling. They seem more naturally falling if they're closer together at the bottom and spread out at the top for some reason. And I did tuck two of them right in behind my photo because I didn't want them to overlap it, because the subjects of the photo are over towards the right, so I couldn't overlap them like that. So I like how that is. I just use my regular adhesive tape runner for attaching those Deli Paper Leaves. And now this Love Today piece of rubber embellishment, it is from the Freckled Fawn kit, from the October Freckled Fawn kit. And then I just pulled out this piece of burlap. The Sweater Weather kit came with these burlap flowers that I actually made smaller. I took them apart a little bit and unraveled them. And because I unraveled them and cut some of it off, I have these strips left over. And so I thought that running this strip across the bottom underneath of some of my layers would just anchor this clump of layered papers in the photo. And I'm really liking how this is looking. So I need to think about what I'm going to put over here. And I wanted to put a critter from the die cut pack. These die cuts are from Pebbles, and they're really adorable. They came in the Sweater Weather kit. And I have this fox. I picked the fox because he was a more bold color than the other ones. He's more red, and the other ones were all brown. And I just wanted something a little bit more bold, given that there's already a lot of brown. I want this layout to not have too much of a dark feeling to it. I want to keep it airy and light. And that's hard for me with a fall page. I find sometimes fall pages become very, very dark very quickly, dark in tone, in color tone. So using that white watercolor background paper, and it's not a true white, it's kind of a cream, I'm just crossing off the word great and replacing it with okay. And I'm sort of trying to make it look like it was done with a magic marker or something. So I had to thicken up my lines in order to make that look like that. I wanted to look like the little fox crossed it off and said, wishing, have an okay day. If not a great day, at least have an okay day. And the journaling is going to explain that a little bit. That just kind of ties in with the theme of this page. This is not a, feel good memory here. So I'm just using some Tombow Mono Multi adhesive. I'll talk about the journaling when I get to the journaling. Using some Tombow Mono Multi adhesive to adhere that rubber piece to my corner, and then also to adhere the acrylic arrow to my photo. I lucked out and got two of those. Only one comes in the kit, but I got two. So this is the second one that you're seeing me use. I tucked that little acorn behind the Love Today. Because I think it just looks cute there, and it gives a little bit of balance, because I know that I plan to put lots of things over on the other side. So speaking of the other side, I'm putting some of those die cut leaves, but those die cut leaves are so different from the other leaves that are already on this page. They're very bold, and they're paper instead of deli paper, and they're, manufactured instead of handmade. So I felt like I wanted to carry some of these leaves over to that pile of leaves, just so that there's more cohesion on the page between the left and the right sides in terms of those two main clusters of embellishments. So I just stuck them down with my adhesive, and now I'm going to tuck the other leaves in front of them, but behind the fox. And I'm just going to keep moving them around until they look good. I don't want too much of them showing. I just want the little tips of them to be showing. And in the final product, I somehow accidentally, I'm going to do a lot to these clusters before I'm through. I keep kind of changing my mind and ruining things and then fixing them. And so the leaves are not going to actually end up where I want them to be, but that's okay. It wasn't until after I finished my layout and looked at it that I realized, oh wait, that leaf kind of got out of place, but you'll see that at the end. So now I'm putting these Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive hexagons on the back of my fox, and I'm double layering it because he has to go over so many layers. I'm just playing around with which of these dots need 2 layers and which of them can live with only 1. And basically, I want that fox so that he's right up against the photo, and I want to be able to have that banner look like he's holding the banner under, like kind of in front of him. He's wishing us an okay day. I like that. I think he's really cute. So I'm not really loving the symmetry of those leaves behind him, but that's okay. I'll deal with that in a little while. For now, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll go with it. What I mean by symmetry is just those 3 leaves are kind of all lined up so nicely behind him. It looks kind of contrived. So first I'm going to deal with this banner, and then I'm realizing, wait, I've covered up all of my burlap piece. There's some sticking out on one side, but none sticking out on the other. So I did have an extra piece of burlap. So here goes the first mistake that I'm fixing. So I need to add more burlap on this side, but I should have just kind of pulled it all apart because it's hard. Now you can see the little frayed edges of the other piece of burlap sticking out, and I thought maybe I could tuck my scissors in there and try to get those off. It is burlap, so you can just tear them, right? Like it's kind of unraveling. So I managed to get it so that you can't really see any of the pieces of the first piece of burlap, and it looks basically, I want it to look like there's only one piece of burlap that spans the whole way from behind that leaf by the fox all the way out to the other side. And now all of my leaves are pulling up off the back, and I want the leaves to be flat on the background so that it accentuates that the fox has popped up. And so I needed to glue those leaves down. I don't want them sticking out. I want the fox to be the thing that stands out the most over there. The leaves are supposed to be background. So now I'm going to go ahead and place my title. I did trim off the extra leaves that were hanging on the top and on the bottom, and leaving things hanging off the top and bottom is another good way that helps make the illusion that something is falling across your layout. And the same is true when you're trying to make butterflies look like they're flying across your layout. Just having the edges of some butterflies mid-flight off of your page helps it look that way. So here I'm using my ruler to just help me make sure that that word Baddeck was fully straightened and lined up. I had to bring the C down a tiny bit. I am trying not to stand up too much because I'm still dealing with my neck injury. I'm more than a little annoyed, but whatever. Anyhow, these are Tim and Beck little stickers. They're called Tiny Letters. What are they called? Let me grab them here. Tiny Alpha stickers, and they were an exclusive to a Studio Calico kit. I bought an extra couple. I think there was a last call or something that month, and I was able to nab an extra one. So I love, love, love these letter stickers. They're one of my all-time favorite tile letter stickers. So I just switched them. Those are kind of like a mix and match font where it can look cool to have them all different, but where there's only 2 letters, it didn't look so cool. It looked kind of weird and random that there were 2 different. So I just switched it so that they were both the same font. And that's kind of a cool letter sticker because some of the edges of it are cut off, and I kind of like that. So I'm just using my Tombow Mono Multi to finally put this autumn piece on and just drop it in place. And because it's liquid glue, I can move it around a little tiny bit. And I try to use a tiny bit so that it doesn't ooze out of the edges, but because it dries matte, you're not going to see it if it does ooze. Now here comes my journaling. Oh, I'm trying to think. I want to incorporate journaling in at least 2 places here, and I thought I would start it right here, and I'm writing it crooked, and I wish that I didn't. This really annoys me about this, but it looks okay. I think maybe I'm the only one who notices just how crooked it is, but I can't stop noticing it. Anyhow, I'm going to let it go because I have to. And that also fits with the theme of this page, is letting go of things when they don't go your way. So this top piece of journaling says, I'm sure it's beautiful, so it says Autumn in Baddeck. I'm sure it's beautiful, but I didn't really see it. I spent the weekend here in the hot tub. And now over here, I'm going to write, from my neck issue to car troubles to the torrential rain, this trip helped us Learn to have fun even when things go wrong. A lot of things went wrong on this trip, more than just those things. But those were the big things that went wrong. It was one of those trips. I'm a fairly optimistic person, but even I was thinking maybe we should just turn around and go home. Like, it was really bad. But you know, in the end, we pulled through as a family, and I think we had some fun. I don't know. They say they had fun. I had fun, but I always, you know, you always hope that the kids have fun too. And they say they did, so I'm going to go with that. So yeah, that's what this layout is about. It's not necessarily like a happy-go-lucky layout about, you know, awesome day, best day ever, or anything like that. But it's all about kind of like, I use the love today because, and here I'm putting roll with the punches, Banksfords, but I'm going to hate it as soon as I do it because it's also crooked and it's too small of a phrase for there. And I would have liked to have put it in between where the banner is and where the stem of that orange leaf is. It would have maybe done better there. This just looks weird. I kind of, so the good thing about that is it distracts me from the crooked journaling at the top because I really, really don't like the bottom journaling. So I'm thinking, let's take some pumpkins. I wasn't planning to put pumpkins on this layout, but they did a good job of covering it. So these 3 flowers do a pretty good job of covering it too, but so this is going to actually help me fix a problem. Remember how I said that those leaves were too symmetric? So I'm going to trade a flower for a leaf because I don't really want to have leaves on one side and flowers on the other side. It just looks too disjointed that way. So I want to have some leaves and some flowers on both sides instead. So we're going to go with 2 leaves over here and 1 flower, and then the opposite on the other side. And now, as I was doing that, I moved the Deli Paper leaf that's behind that flower. It now sticks out further than I'd like it to. I should have scooched it in there a little bit more because that flower doesn't stick out as much as the leaf did. So it's a little bit off balance there. So that's just something I thought I'd point out for those of you. I don't mind it, but for those of you who are, you know, trying to, you know, wanting to know about the process and trying to learn from my mistakes, I show you lots of them. So So that's something that I would do differently if I had a chance to do it again. Then I thought that those die-cut flowers just looked like they didn't quite belong with the other things that were on the page. They didn't have the same bold lines in them that the leaves have, even though the leaves are not outlined. Like I didn't outline them, and also the manufacturer who made them didn't outline them. But they do have those stems in them that are quite a thick brown line. So I decided to outline these. This one I'm outlining with the thinner pen because this is a Zig Writer in brown. And I'm doing that one in a thinner pen because it already has a pretty bold brown center on that flower. This is the flower I like the least, so I'm going to push it under stuff so that it's a little bit more hidden. And I don't love that these two, the leaf and the flower, are such similar colors, but I really don't like how that leaf, how that flower that I'm touching right now, the orange one, I really don't like how that one turned out. So I'd rather have these two similar colored things together and tuck the leaf I don't like as much in, or the flower that I don't like so much, in behind stuff. And you know, it probably would have looked okay either way. It's not a big deal. But again, that's sort of the kind of thing that I'm thinking about as I make this page. There's always a dilemma, and there's never a right or a wrong way to do it. It's just the thing that you feel okay doing that makes you like your own page. That's more important than anything else, is just that you like your own page. So I have my Try Art palette here, and I'm going to do some sprinkling of some mist. I'm going to mask a few things. I don't mind if some gold lands in the sky, but I don't want it to land on my fox, on the details of my photo, or on my rubber piece. So I'm masking all of those things off. I'm using my paintbrush in my Liquitex gold acrylic ink, and I'm being very reserved with my mist today. Do you like my restraint? Are you proud of me? My last layout had a little bit too much splatter, so this one might have a little bit not enough, but I like it. There's my Liquitex ink. I'm just going to use a baby wipe to wipe up my palette and put it away. So there we go, and I think it's done, but oh no, it's definitely not done. So here we go. I need to mat this because it feels a little bit floaty, so I feel like I just want something to finish it off. And at first I thought a nice fall plaid would be perfect, but then I kind of thought, here's what I was thinking. See how the photo in this, the only photo on the layout, which is in the center, it has kind of like, because of the filter that's on it, I'm just writing Inverary in October 2016. That photo has it almost has an indigo, like a dark blue tone to it. And that's because of the filter that I used. And I feel like if I were to use that really inky blue paper as my mat, that might really kind of pull together this layout and make it look like that photo belongs on this page a little bit more. So right now the photo has a real bluey, pinky, lavendery kind of look to it, and then the page is all reds and browns and oranges and greens. And so it's sort of like a cool and a warm going on. And sometimes you can mix warms and cools, I'm learning, I think. At least, well, you can do whatever you want. There's no rules. But what I'm learning is that sometimes I like cools and warms mixed together, but not just one. I think the key to breaking rules is to do it purposefully. And so I think that by using this blue background paper, it brings in the blue tones that are in the photo and makes it work a little bit better. Now, I also decided to go around this page with my sewing machine. I'm just using white thread and I'm going all the way around it as straight as I can, which is not terribly straight, but I'm trying. And I just went right over the Deli Paper Leaves where I encountered them. In two places they kind of fall off the page, and so I just went with it. And I think that finishes off the page. I was trying to think of where I would use some thread, like some sewing on this page. I really like sewing, particularly on autumn pages, and I couldn't think of where I would do it. And so this is a really nice option. I felt like it would be cluttering or taking away from any other spot on the page. So I just decided to sew all the way around the outside, and that's a nice option. So here I'm using some enamel dots. These are from Echo Park, from Fall is in the Air, and I'm using them to break up a little bit that red flower next to the really dark orange leaf that are almost the same color. I think just adding a couple of enamel dots helps to break those up a tiny bit. It doesn't do a wonderful job. There's still two things that are a little bit too similar beside each other, but I think it does okay. It makes me feel a little bit better about it, so I guess that's all that really matters. And then I wanted to put some enamel dots on the background as well, so they're on the leaves in two different places and on the background in two different places. So here is this layout up close. There are some photos that will follow as well. The one thing that I wanted to say about this photo, separate from the process, is that both this page and my last page and a couple of other pages that I've done recently have more embellishing and more, I guess, busyness than I usually have anyways. And on this example, it's not necessarily that there's a whole lot of embellishing. It is quite busy with those Deli Paper Leaves with all of the pattern and splashes of color on it. And the fact that each one of them is very, very different from one another in terms of the patterns and the colors. So I think that when I am using more embellishment or going to end up with a much busier page than usual, I like it to be on a page that features a photo with a whole lot of white space on it. So the last one where my daughter was on the driveway, there was a whole lot of space around her. And the same here, I've got that fence which blocks my view of Cape Breton, by the way. And also the sky is a huge amount of white, and then even the water in the white tub. And then there's just our tiny little heads over there in the corner. That is, I mean, I really wanted this picture to show the beauty of Cape Breton in the background and the fact that I'm missing out on it because I'm enclosed by this fence in the hot tub. And I basically spent a really good part of the weekend in that hot tub outside, which was kind of cool because it was cold outside and hot in the hot tub, and that's always fun. And we did have a really good time, and the kids were back and forth. There was an indoor pool there as well, so they were kind of running outside and getting in the hot tub and then running in and getting into the pool. But anyhow, I do like to use a photo that has a little bit more of a buffer between the subject and the busyness of the layout when I have a really busy layout. So that's just something that I thought I would mention to you guys because I didn't talk about it in my last video, but I meant to. So thanks so much for watching, and have a really great scrappy week, everyone.